The Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers are on the road against the Joe Flacco-led Bengals in the year 2025. What? In today's video, I'm going to talk about a half dozen player props that look actually really good for Thursday Night Football. I'm also going to talk about the game, some of the opening lines, where the money is, and if there's any opportunities to bet on this game itself. There's no time to waste, my friends. Let's go. Today, we're going to be using Underdog to look at some of these players. We'll go through all their different projections. But before we get into it, officially 3.97 units of profit last week. That's right. That means VIPs have profited in 5 of 6 weeks. My picks went 5-1, while the model officials went 3-2. If you want that link, it's down below in the description section. It's also pinned in the comments. Again, profit in 5 of 6 weeks. If you're struggling, consider giving it a try. All right, let's move on to the games. On the right side of your screen right now, you're looking at the money report. Nice little graphic I made per the request of some people in the comments section. Get some more graphics up there. Listen, I'm doing my best. I'm a one-man show. These take like 6 hours to make, but I digress. Pittsburgh is laying 5.5 points on the road. That means their line is Pittsburgh minus 5.5. They're giving the Bengals 5.5 points to start the game. 59% of the public tickets are on the Steelers to cover, and 59% of the money is on the Steelers to cover that 5.5. Now, usually when you see that, you're going to have a lot of people betting on their money line as well, and you do. Currently, they're heavy favorites with 89% of the public tickets, 82% of the money. The total's where it gets kind of interesting. The current line is actually 42.5. Now, before I give you the breakdown, I might as well tell you, you can see it on the screen. 56% of the public tickets and 64% of the money are taking the under. Now, real quick, before we get to the player props, raise your hand. Yeah, do it right there. I can see you. How creepy is that? A few Thursday videos ago, I talked about the Seahawks on a Thursday night game at 43.5 total, and I said, hey, that's a very important number. A lot of games will be 20-20. Team kicks a field goal. Now you've got a 23-20 game, and that outcome is just an important number for betting. And the game ended at 43, and then in the game, it actually did that. Someone kicked a last-second field goal, the Seahawks did, and they won the game 23-20, and the under 43.5 cashed. Well, again, that key number, well, this total is one under it. It's a tricky one. I already loathe betting on unders and overs for totals. I just don't like the market in general. It's way too volatile. There's way too many variables to account for. Refereeing, defensive back slipped in coverage or a pass interference in the end zone, all sorts of weird things. I mean, heck, you get fumbles on handoffs because the rain is too much for a quarterback's hands, as we saw in Monday Night Football, that tank unders. And that's exactly what happened. With a 48.5 point total on Monday Night Football, the under looked like it was going to cash. They just had to clock the ball. They're going to run it out. And there was an exchange issue. Ball slipped out of Jaden Daniels' hand, and the Bears ended up getting down the field, 20, 30 yards later, kicking a field goal. The over ended up hitting. Unders bettors sitting there in shambles. Just be careful, my friends. Totals market stinks. So let's talk player props. On the season, Rodgers has 244, 203, 139, 200, and 235 passing yards. He's had 2+ touchdowns basically every other game. And now he gets an all-world matchup, my friends. I'm not kidding. This one is delectable. 5 of 6 quarterbacks have thrown for 258 or more passing yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. That is atrocious pass defense. They have no pass rush. Their secondary can't keep up with these guys running around the field for 4 seconds per play. It's awful. 4 of the 6 quarterbacks have had 2+ touchdowns against them. And in fact, the only quarterback that hit the under on the passing yards this season, and not only the under on their market, but had fewer than 258 passing yards. The other 5 had 258 or more. Was Carson Wentz. I believe it was week 2 or week 3 when the Vikings were up 48-3 at one point in that game. They did not have to pass the ball after halftime. I think they were up 38-3 at halftime. So Wentz finished that game with 173 and only had a couple passing attempts in the second half. Now, I don't think we get that type of outcome. The Bengals aren't rolling over and dying. They're just not playing good D. I expect Ron to go down the field, up and down the field in this one through the air I think his passing yards are interesting and his passing touchdowns are interesting. And I think there's some correlation we could probably run on underdog. So I'm looking at DK Metcalf this week and his 69.5 receiving yards. Very nice over there, my friends. I'm telling you, if you want to try underdog, you can use code DONUTS, DONUTS. It's a very fun platform. And these are correlative picks. I like the passing yards for Aaron Rodgers. So, of course, somebody's got to help him get there, and I think his guy DK Metcalf will, and here is why. He's averaging just 3.8 receptions per game, which is about 0.6 fewer than last season. However, he's averaging 5 more yards per catch, has a better ADOT, which is average depth of target, which means he's getting high equity targets down the field. Now, wide receivers have destroyed the Bengals. Of course, we already talked about 258 plus passing yards or more by 5 of the 6 quarterbacks. So, of course, wide receivers, pass catchers in general have just feasted, licking their lips heading into any matchup with the Bengals. And this one's no different for DK Metcalf. The Bengals actually have given up the most yards after the catch in the NFL to opposing wide receivers. Good luck. DK Metcalf, a nice 7 to 10 yard slant over the middle, can house it for 81 yards as we saw 2 weeks ago. I think that this is one of those games where you're going to get something like that. Maybe you get a 4, 5, 6 second play where the pass rush can't get in and the defensive backs just can't keep trying to cover these guys down the field. Rodgers hits like a long crossing pattern across the field and DK catches it in stride, turns up the sideline, and he's gone for 60 yards. I think there's multiple ways that he can get there, whether it's through volume, whether it's through a deep pass, or whether it's some type of yards after the catch play. DK Metcalf is in a massive, massive spot with tremendous upside. I've taken different plays and picks throughout the year that haven't had the upside that this one has. In fact, this is literally the most upside any given player could have in any type of matchup so far this year. The Bengals have been that bad defensively, and wide receivers specifically and quarterbacks specifically have absolutely destroyed them to currently historical levels. So I don't care what it is. Long reception, 25.5. His receiving yards on underdog here looks fine at 69.5. He's a catch away from taking it. You've seen the last couple games getting some high equity plays. 126. He had 83 in the opener. A couple downers here. And then, of course, we had this 95 yards receiving last game. And what I like the most there is the 9 pass targets. He's got the touchdown equity. He's had 4 in a row. And we know that Aaron Rodgers likes to hone in on a guy every single time he's home somewhere to give them the football inside the red zone to score. And DK Metcalf, that big, strong body, he's fast. We all know he's got a lead upside. Take him for a tutty, take him for a long reception, take him for receiving yards. Just make sure you take him. I think it's a great play. All right, next up, let's talk about Jaylen Warren. Multiple angles to go here. First off, the rushing yards. Lower is fine. The longest rush, lower is fine. I mean, you could go to the 52.5 if you wanted a little wiggle room and put it at 59.5. That is fine. There's many ways to break this one down. Let's talk about them. I am a big fan. And listen, we're only looking at the Steelers side so far, and there's so many ways to go with this. I just really like this game. Shockingly, really like this game. And I think there's some money to be made here. So Jaylen Warren, let's break him down a little bit, my friends. Has not shown much burst this year. And this is a market, the long rush or the total yards rushing. Both of them, in fact, I think we've bet on this season. I'm just going to go back to the well. Not much is changing, and Vegas is not adjusting. At 13.5 for his longest rush, he's actually not even really gotten close. And the worst part is his snap rate's been at 53%, 58%, and like 30%, other than one game where he had an 80% snap rate. Otherwise, he's ceding opportunity to Kenneth Gainwell. And what makes it even worse is that this game looks like it's going to be one where Rodgers probably passes more because of that pass defense. And Kenneth Gainwell has been in there on passing downs more than Jaylen Warren the last 2 weeks. Yeah, how odd is that? Gainwell had 6 pass targets this past weekend and was in there a good amount on passing downs. So if they're throwing the football more and now Jaylen Warren really isn't locked into the passing down role, maybe we miss out on that draw, some of those third and long garbage carries, because it ain't happening on first and second, at least not so far. In his 4 games, as a healthy running back, he's had long rushes of 9, 9, 11, and 11 yards. That's 3 fewer than what he needs to hit the over for that 13.5 line. For his total yards rushing, he's never had more than 52. And the Bengals rush defense, it's not like it's elite, but it's not horrific. If anything, teams just barely bother running the football against them because it's so easy to move the football through the air against them. Now, I also think there's another angle here, and we've all seen it happen here and there. Inferior teams at home on primetime. The Giants holding Barkley in check. The Falcons holding James Cook in check. So on and so forth. That home crowd on a primetime game. Maybe the Cincinnati faithful show up. They're so loud. The defense is fired up, and they shut down the running game. You see it happen a lot for those road teams on a short week, Thursday Night Football. That's another reason why I think Rodgers tries to move the ball through the air in this one. Pass attempts probably going to be high for volume, and at least the long, big play equity is up there this week. And I think the run game, there's multiple ways this goes poorly for Jaylen Warren, whether it's ceding opportunity to Kenneth Gainwell, whether it's Aaron Rodgers throwing the football more than the team running it, or the Bengals crowd and defense showing up and shutting down the run. There's more outs than there are ways for this to go well for Jaylen Warren and the Steelers offense through the run game. Now, real quick, if you're enjoying today's video, all the information, the research, the insight, could you do me a huge favor and just like the video for me? Subscribe to the channel. That helps me out a lot. And lastly, it's new. If you're on mobile, a lot of you can hype a video. Could you hype it for me if you think this free information is helpful? I'm here 7 days a week for you. You just got to hit that sub button, hype, and like. Live shows Monday, Thursday, Sunday at 9 a.m. You get videos Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. It's all free. It's all for fun. It's all informational. It's all just for you. Back to the picks we go. Now, I want to show you because I don't have a lot to work with this early in the morning on a Tuesday. I have nothing that I can look to for the Bengals side. So I scoured the lines, the books, and I'm going to try my best to give you some good insight here. Joe Flacco, I think, was brought in to absolutely pepper and force the football to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And with that in mind, he did a wonderful job this past week. 20 passes went to them in week 5. T. Higgins had 8 targets, which led to a season-high 5 catches, season-high 62 yards receiving. Jamar Chase had 12 targets, which led to 10 receptions, 94 yards. And that beautiful one-handed touchdown catch, even despite the fact that he had a man draped all over him and garnered that pass interference call, he didn't even need it. My man hauled that one in at the end, the goal line, and scored a touchdown at the end of the game. I expect to see more of the same in week 6 and beyond with Joe Flacco, literally just forcing the football to those two to keep them happy going forward into 2026, 27, 28 with their nice long contracts that they both have signed. I think there's going to be some pretty volatile spots here throughout the season production-wise, but I see some, higher potential. The ceiling has been raised with Joe Flacco under center just because of his propensity to force the football to his alphas. And he's got 2 of them. Don't get it twisted. T. Higgins, if he were the only guy for a good quarterback on a team, is probably putting up top 10 numbers. So I think his playmakers are going to be happy. I think their stat lines will be pretty solid, despite the fact that the Bengals' overall record and season probably is going to be a bummer. And with that in mind, Jamar Chase, if you scour the internet, scour the apps, 69.5 receiving yards seems to be a popular one across several right now. That seems way too low for a multitude of reasons. Number one, 12 targets from Joe Flacco is a lot. He had 94 yards in that game on 10 catches. Regardless of the volume, we're talking about a player who literally is one of the elite playmakers in the NFL. Any given touch can turn upfield and house it for 90 yards. I'm not even kidding. Whether he gets over the top of the defense and hauls one in and then just takes it, or catches it 15 yards down the field, makes a move or two and houses it, or picks up massive 40, 50-yard gains. It doesn't matter who's that quarterback. All Jamar Chase needs is opportunity in the football in his hands. And I think Flacco's going to give him the opportunity, whether or not he's able to haul him in and make a play. That's on Chase, but the opportunity is there, and that's all I care about. At 69.5 yards, that one seems too low. I think there's plenty of upside in that line. Similarly, tough word to say on the spot here, T. Higgins getting 8 targets last week. His receiving yards line is at 46.5 in some places right now. That one also seems too low. Now, if you're taking both of them, of course, now you start to run into some correlation issues where, if Higgins pops off 80, 90, 100 yards, maybe Higgins doesn't. Or excuse me, maybe Chase doesn't, or vice versa. Chase pops off for $150. Maybe Higgins does not. That being said, the fact that they're at 69.5 and 46.5 for Higgins and Chase, they just seem too low. There's a lot of wiggle room in those lines. I actually am kind of surprised to see them so low. I thought we'd see Chase around 80 and Higgins around 60. So I think we can, target probably some type of parlay here. Aaron Rodgers passing yards, DK Metcalf receiving yards, both Higgins and Chase receiving yards, and then Jaylen Warren grabbing the under for the rushing yards. There's 5 picks. That's a nice looking parlay. Hey, you could probably even toss in Aaron Rodgers, 2 passing touchdowns, maybe DK Metcalf a touchdown. Get crazy with it if you want. It's up to you. Here's my thoughts, though. There's a lot to like in a lot of these lines. It's extremely early Tuesday morning. I want you to come back on Thursday morning for the live show because I'll have a full 10,000 foot view of the slate because I'll have all the player props, all the lines for every single player. I mean, hey, I don't even have any lines out there for Chase Brown yet. There's nothing out there for any tight ends for the Steelers that keep making plays. I have no Kenneth Gainwell lines. I don't even have Joe Flacco lines out there. Come back Thursday morning. I'll cover it all, and we'll build a parlay together on the live show. It's at 9 a.m. It's a nice hour or so talk show, and we talk through every possible scenario, and we build some slips, so we have some fun. Again, that VIP link is down below. Profit in 5 of 6 weeks. It's been a wonderful NFL season, up to about 30 total units after 6 weeks of profit. That's combining my model officials with my personal picks. That link's down below. Grab it if you'd like. Regardless, I hope to see you back Wednesday morning where the 1 pick per game video goes live, and then Thursday for the live show. Till next time, my friends, let's get paid.